Welcome to the Profit Desk. I'm Dexter.
And I'm Daniel.
We appreciate y'all tuning in and continuing to rock with us. This is the second live show of the Profit Desk,
Number
and
two.
we appreciate y'all coming through, man. Uh, Today we wanted to be more intentional with our episode today. For those of you that have liked the page, subscribe to the YouTube. Um, we wanted to kind of do an episode to kind of let you know what the purpose of this show was. So today we'll be discussing business, entrepreneurship, and life, and we'll be talking about how we uh, intend to work together to to figure out how that whole thing works. How we make our way through this uh, obstacle course that is success and entrepreneurship. Um, you got anything you want to say before we get started, Dane?
No, but just welcome to everyone who's watching currently and who will be watching the replay. And this is, like Dexter said, thank you for watching. And we're actually going to be documenting and chronicling our journey through entrepreneurship, business, and life. And we're just a couple of regular guys who are going to um, we have some goals, very audacious goals, um, that's going to put us well beyond our comfort zone, and you all get to watch us in our wins and failures. And really not failures, just lessons, right? Because
Right, 100%.
they propel us to the next win. So looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, me as well. Uh, So, a little bit about the format going forward. We'll start the show off with some news events from the week, kind of
Hmm.
get you caught up on what's going on in the business world. We'll talk about things that are going to affect you directly, and that's whether you are in a boardroom or whether you're punching the clock on the 9 to 5. Um, we'll talk about events that happened during the week and get everybody caught up. And at the end of it all, um, when the show's over, hopefully we can have a discussion about how we're going to how we take that information and move forward with it.
Sure, most definitely.
All right. So let's start from the top. What do we have this week? I think the this story came out of nowhere. We've had a couple of upticks in COVID over the last week, out kind of out of nowhere. So this article, I think you guys will find interesting. I'm going to share it real quick. Um, share screen here, and let's see. All right, so President Biden is going to require truckers crossing the border to be fully vaccinated starting January. I thought that was very, very interesting. Um, the, the why I thought it was interesting was because this mandate has nothing to do with whether they're U.S. citizens or not, but simply any import from Mexico and or Canada with drivers, they'll be required to show proof of vaccination before crossing into the country. And I thought that was interesting. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, it's interesting. I can kind of see it's kind of it seems kind of like a knee jerk reaction from ground up. It kind of looks like that for those who are kind of tired of this whole pandemic thing and who want to get life back to normal. And it looks like that we may be going back to a situation where it could be a potential lockdown nationally. Um,
Yeah,
also, um I'm wondering how they're going to enforce people um, who aren't residents of the United States. Like what type of documentation does a person outside the United States have to prove that they've been vaccinated?
well, I know at one point we were talking about COVID passports, right?
Yeah.
Little orange passport with. I know in some countries are already implementing that
Yeah.
system. Um, I didn't think we were there yet here in the United States. I think there is a misconception, and this is going to be a very opinionated comment, but I think there's a misconception around the world that when you watch the news, um, it would appear that in the United States, especially here in Florida, it would appear that bodies are spilling over out of
Yeah.
the hospital. That it's the apocalypse, and there's COVID everywhere. um, but to be honest with you, outside of having to wear a mask, life is pretty much the norm. Um,
You're saying there in
so I,
Florida.
here in Florida, I'll
Got it.
speak for Florida. Yeah. So here in Florida, life is pretty much the norm. Now I know Florida tends to be a rebel state
Hmm.
to begin with. We
Florida
kind
and
of
Texas. Yeah.
Florida and Texas, yeah, we kind of go our own way with things. And I'll reserve, um, comment about Ron DeSantis. He's my governor, so I'll reserve comment about that. I know you guys have some opinions about him, but um, as of right now, last month anyway, I haven't checked the numbers this month, but last month, Florida had the lowest COVID rates in the nation as far as new cases. Now, that says a lot considering that, in my opinion, it says a lot considering that we have not mandated, uh, our governor has not mandated vaccines. That doesn't mean that people aren't getting the vaccine because they are. My entire family, other than myself, is pretty much vaccinated. But yeah, so people are getting the vaccine. But it kind of just goes to show that for us, anyway, for Florida, a mandate was not necessary. Um, but we are seeing an uptick um, that is causing concern, especially with our president. Most of it is coming with through the Midwest.
Hmm.
Um, and yes, and we actually have some more to show you. So let's take a look at the next article here. Did you have any more on this before I switch?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna share the next article. Let's see. Now this one kind of gives you a different picture of just how serious it is. So a new COVID variant broke out in South Africa, as I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about. And several countries, including ours, has restricted travel from South Africa into the U.S. Um, I don't. What is the name of this variant, by the way? We just talked about it. What is the
I
name of
think
it?
it's um, Omicron.
Omicron.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, I don't know how the naming system is working, but from the Delta to the Omicron. Here we go. Um,
Yeah, it really sounds like they're coming from the HBCU standpoint. Um, the Black Greeks.
Black
Yeah.
Greeks, man. Uh, so yeah, man. I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't know how um what that means going forward. I don't know if there will be additional restrictions coming um if we continue to see spikes. But I understand, the closing of the borders, um trying to keep new variants out. I do think, as you said, um, for truck drivers, that may be a knee jerk reaction, but I guess I understand the restriction of flights. Um, I guess my thoughts are, um, and I'm sure we're going to touch on this. What's next? If we decide to that we have to have another lockdown,
Yeah.
and um, we have to go back to 2020, um, where no one, only essential workers, right? So, what does that mean for those that are just getting back on their feet as far as employment? What does that mean for those that have new businesses that they started in 2021 as a result of COVID? What does that mean for the new businesses? And if you are a business that survived the first sort of wave of lockdowns, if we have another one, could your business survive a second wave of that? And for how long do you think you could sustain? So I think that'll be an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, most definitely. And to really, I don't want to go too far into that conversation, but uh, there was a spike not only in COVID in 2020, but also in people who initially started businesses, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
in the online sector, online sector of business, there were many thousands of people who started and made a very handsome amount just because everybody's focus was on their computer, on their phone, you
Right.
know, and they didn't have anything else to do. So you had everyone's attention, and you were able to find ways to monetize that attention. So yeah, that I think that's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, let's see here. So, some interesting things happened in the crypto space.
Crypto.
Let's take a look. Would you look at that?
For
Would you
all
look
those
at
who
that?
said it wasn't real.
Yeah. So, crypto.com is now the, Staples Center is now the crypto.com arena.
Yeah.
I, um, I understand the legacy. I am not a Lakers fan myself. Um,
Oh, come on. Who are you? Who do you
no,
like?
man, it's Dub Nation, Warriors forever.
All right.
Uh,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'm not a Lakers fan myself, but I do understand the legacy behind Staples Center. It's one more, what, 20 years or probably longer, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's very, very interesting. And if you are an owner of CRO, I am myself. I got in back when it was about 9 cents.
Hmm.
Then you've seen significant increases over this week. I think it's at about 78 cents right now. Um, it's been dipping over the last 48 hours, along with the what was it? The Dow dropped 900 points, something like
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
So it's been dipping over the last 48 hours, along with that.
It's a
But
good time to buy. Good
It's
time
a
to
good
buy.
time to buy because it's not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
This is in no way, shape, or form the ceiling.
Right.
So if you have, no going, don't go into debt. This is not the time to go into debt.
Right.
But if you have the additional resources to spare, and you could forego a pair of sneakers, grab you some crypto. Um, I think that'll be, I think that's a decent investment. I'm not gonna tell you what to invest in. I've given you the prices to CRO. Do with that information what you will. All right.
Yeah. Most definitely, we are by no means giving you investment advice.
At all. At all. And speaking of that, I'm gonna grab something here because there's something I do want to touch on. US households uh with crypto. Now there was an interesting statistic that we looked up, and I thought this was something that we would want to share. So, do you own any crypto? Um, I guess, Daniel, if you want to answer that, you're more than welcome to. I
Oh,
am
I
going
thought
to.
it was rhetorical.
It
No,
is rhetorical, but I was saying if you wanted to answer it, you could.
no, I'm not going to tell anybody what I own right now.
All right, all right, all good. But check this out: 14% of Americans own crypto
Yeah,
right now. 14%. What does that tell you? That it is still very, very, very early.
very new.
So I get messages all the time. Is it too late? Have I missed the ride? Now we're not talking about speculative coins, right? We're not like Shiba and Dogecoin. Now those coins have their place. I'm not saying um, to. I'm not giving you any advice on them at all. Actually, um, I did own Shiba Inu at one time. Bought and sold, made a profit. I also owned Dogecoin. Bought and sold, and made a profit. However, those are not stable coin solutions, and should be looked at as uh, a casino play, in my honest opinion. If you have some money to spare, uh, skip the McDonald's and go grab you some Shiba and see what happens. But I thought this was an interesting statistic, man. 14%. Um, what do you think about that? And do you think that number will be growing
I
anytime
think
soon?
that number is going to grow over the next 5 or 6 years exponentially.
Okay,
If now that's if the powers that be don't try to price us out.
that is true. Gas fees are a problem at the moment. Um, just purchasing either an NFT or crypto, gas fees are a problem. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, I think many more Americans will own crypto. I don't think um, they may not necessarily invest in crypto,
Right.
but I think the number of Americans who own crypto will increase significantly.
Most definitely. I agree.
And that's all we have for this week's news update. If you have anything that you want to uh, talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let us know. But we're going to continue on with why we kind of started this show, this podcast in the first place.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. So business, entrepreneurship, and life. This is the Profit Desk. Um, what we wanted to do is create a space, and
Mhm.
when I say a space, I do not mean a safe space because we have real conversations here, real opinions, and the goal behind it is to make sure that we all, as a family, come out ahead.
Mhm.
Um, whether that be business, in entrepreneurship, or in life. And um, I think it's important that we first make some distinctions um, between business and entrepreneurship. All right, so when we first came up with this idea, we both kind of agreed that they sounded similar, but there's a distinct difference between business and entrepreneurship.
Right.
The in our opinion, and what and for what the means of this show is. So the business executive, the boardroom exec, the Fortune 500 executive, um, those in that arena, salaried six figures or more, that kind of playing arena, right? Um, that is what we consider, for the purposes of this podcast, business. Um, Entrepreneurship would be more to the lane of um, a solopreneur, maybe, or maybe you have a 9 to 5, and your goal is to either supplement your income or transition from a 9 to 5 to a full time small business owner, and soon enough, a full blown business owner. In at some point, either way, our goal is to look at those two, have conversations about it, provide you with some tips, some tricks, and you share with us as well, because this entire time we're going to be documenting our
Sure.
journey in the process as well. Um, by no means are we, um, um, I'll put it this way, we both still at the moment work 9 to 5s,
Yep.
right? So we also own a company together. So, with that being said, what we want to document for you is how we grow this company, and we both allow each other and we help each other to transition from our 9 to 5s to full time business owners. As we journey on this, I hate to say it because it's such a cliche now, but as we make this journey of generational wealth, um, I think it's important to document the process and share with you our our successes, our roadblocks, our lessons,
Hmm.
um, and there it's somewhat selfish as well, right? Because you can now join in the conversation. You can share with us your successes, your roadblocks, um, and some of your lessons, and we hand in hand can help each other get to a better place and navigate uh, this minefield of
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question, man. It's is I agree. We're two regular guys looking to document this wonderful journey of, of becoming the person that can manage, you know, millions of dollars, right? But I wanted to ask you a question. I know this is not, uh, again, we're just having a conversation. So I want to ask you a question. Why generational wealth? Why do you want that? You know, and why are you choosing the path of entrepreneurship to do that? You know, what sparked that?
You know, um, I've always found it fascinating. I remember the first time I met um, a millionaire. Uh, it it completely blew my mind. It was almost similar to uh, the, the Donald Trump story. Oh, my dad gave me a small loan of $1 million. um, but yeah, man, it was kind of similar to that, and I always wondered, wow, what must it be like to have family that cared enough about you to invest in your future.
Hmm.
Um, and that's really what kind of got me on the path to generational wealth. I wanted I wanted to be in a position that when my kids got their start, they didn't have to get it out the mud.
Yeah.
That whole thing needs to be over with. But I really wanted to be in the kind of position that they didn't have to do that. That I could give them a head start. Um, and if there was anybody else in my family that needed a head start, we could have systems in place that would allow for that as well. Um, but I was that's to answer your question. To make a long story short, I was just fascinated by that, and I always wondered what that would be like, and it kind of just sparked me to go down a rabbit hole, and then the desire started burning from there.
Yeah.
What about
Well,
yourself?
for me, I've always wanted to be a millionaire, even when I was smaller, and there was always a number uh, that I had in my head um, that I wanted to net a year.
Mm,
That number has stayed with me over the years and has never left. So I know I'm supposed to accomplish that, right? And
right.
if we have the ability to do that, if somebody else has done it, someone else has given us the roadmap. on how to. Um, Someone else has given us the tactics. We just have to develop the belief and the mindset to grow into the person that you know knows how to implement those tactics on a consistent basis. So I've always wanted to, and I've always felt like I was capable of doing it. But and I'm the type of person I like going through process, right?
Hmm.
Whether it be good or bad, um, seeing the outcome of consistency is what kind of drives me. So I know if I'm consistent in a certain area, and that book, The One Thing, tells
Yeah.
me to be consistent in one
Hmm.
area. Get that one thing going real good, and then use that one thing to then you know be able to fund those other avenues. Because if you're a visionary, like you and myself, you're kind of two pronged. Uh,
Hmm.
you you know how to integrate, and you're a visionary at the same time. So that's a special. You're a special type of person. Um, but visionaries, they have all these ideas. We have all these ideas, and we can get scatterbrained. Like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do
Oh
this.
yeah.
Hey, 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 hey. Focus, focus. Being able to focus on that one thing, grow it, systematize it, and provide value to others so that you can then, while you're doing good, you can earn a living while doing good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, all those things for me have always been there for me. I've never known how to articulate that,
Hmm.
but as life goes on and you continue to seek, uh, you'll eventually find what you're looking for.
I think that's I think it's a very interesting what you said about um, the one thing, right? The one thing, and the process of consistency. Because
Hmm.
even just coming up with this, the idea to do this, it was not easy, right? Because we have so much going on already, um, and only to be like, okay, I got the inspiration, and I'm like, hey, Dane, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? um, and it's kind of that, you know, um, you want to be able to add things without them being a distraction,
Sure.
you know, and that's not always easy. Which brings us to the third part of why we started this podcast. Just life in general, man.
Yeah, most definitely.
Life itself is almost as difficult, if not more, than entrepreneurship. Just navigating relationships, uh, kids, finances, uh, you name it. And I think we kind of we didn't really have a place where entrepreneurs could go and get it off their chest. And
Hmm.
I think we wanted to create a place for that. Now again, I am not saying by any means that we will coddle you or that this will be a safe space, because we do have real conversations, um and everything that we talk about, whether it is here live on the stream or in the Facebook group. Everything that we talk about will be done with love, but I think it is important to let you know that everything that you if you ask for advice, or if you put yourself out there, it is not always going to be it is not always going to feel like love, even if it comes from a place of love. um but we will have real conversations about life, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I agree. And you kind of need that, right? You need a space to kind of get it off your chest.
Yeah.
Um, like every morning we have a time where we get together and we actually, it's kind of our own personal book club. We're going through. I think this is our sixth book in
Yes, sir.
in 6 months.
Six book
Um,
in 6 months, yeah.
And man, it almost was like a therapy session when they first started.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, some things came out. I mean, some things are still coming out actually, um, about you know why we do what we do and why we think what we think, and some habits that we didn't know stemmed from a certain place in our past,
Hmm.
and how that affects how those actions are going to affect how that mindset, those attitudes, those habits are going to affect our future, and how we have to then, put processes in place, change our mindset to be able to say, okay, this isn't going to serve me in the future.
Right.
So how am I going to change? And those changes are often uncomfortable but necessary.
Very.
Yeah, in every aspect of life, we've been talking about, our health. We've been talking about mental health. We've been talking about physical health. We've been talking about relational health. Um, so it's been a pretty interesting journey so far, and like I said, I'm looking forward to the process, even more in 2022, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting. So I'm even looking forward to what this show is gonna turn into. So usually, what it starts out in is not what it morphs into, but we still have to keep that whole premise of business, entrepreneurship, and life at the forefront. So we don't, as we know, we like to go down those rabbit holes, so
Yeah.
we don't end up there. But yeah, I
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can definitely go down the rabbit hole.
hmm hmm
um and one of the things we talked about earlier as well was we will try to um answer specific questions for you. Um starting an entrepreneurship journey, I had a million questions. I still have a million questions. And it helps to be have somebody to talk to bounce ideas off of,
Sure.
um, to make sure you're not crazy.
hmm
um, so we want to do that. We want to make sure that that is a part of the show. We want to answer specific questions that you might have. So if you're in the Facebook group, or if you're watching live, uh, leave us a comment. Let us know what questions you have. We'll answer it. We'll answer it in the Facebook group. But because uh, any question that you have tends to be the same question 200 people have.
Sure.
Uh, we'll also talk about it here on the show, and we'll give a more in-depth answer than we can uh, just with a few lines of chat. Mhm. So speaking of um, answering specific questions, let's talk about this. What do you think? What advice would you give someone who uh, has a 9 to 5, right? And they know they want to have generational wealth, or at least they want to have financial freedom. Maybe they
Right.
haven't gone so far as generational wealth yet, but they want to have
Right.
financial freedom. What advice would you give them to start that transition?
Man, really start. I said earlier, if you seek for it, you will eventually find it. Find something you're interested in. Find a person that's doing it better than you are. They're in the place that you want to be. And if you can get some type of audience with them, i.e., call them, text them, message them, DM them, um, uh, do that. But if you can't get with them physically, I'm sure they have some type of option where you can follow them and they're documenting, their life in some sort of way. If they have a book, you know, get their book, whatever they're writing, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm sure there's a way for you to find out how to get in touch with a person or persons who are doing what you want to do and follow them. That in itself will get you on the right path. And then you have to go into changing your circle, right? Because you have to get around the same people. You have to get around people who have the same mindset, that want to, move past their 9 to 5, and can say, they believe that there's something more out there for them besides making somebody else rich.
Okay, so would you consider that? Um, so just to kind of condense it here, the first note would be um, find someone that's doing uh, what you would like to do,
Yeah.
um, and then kind of reach out to them in whatever way you can.
And yeah, whichever way you can. And if you can't do that, I'm sure they have some type of literature or books, whether it be uh, online, ebooks, a physical hard copy, and really getting, because if you look at a person's book, it's pretty much they've poured their mind onto pages. And if you want to
Absolutely.
know what they're thinking, read the book, and then not just read, try to implement. Kind of like what we're doing with this this podcast, right? It's not perfect. It's not what we want it to be yet, but we had to start.
You have to start.
Yeah,
You
you
have to
have to
start.
start. You have to have imperfect action. So it's not about being perfect in the beginning, because a lot of people want to be perfect in the beginning. And
Oh yeah.
nobody started out, no one on this earth started out 100%. They failed
Yeah.
along the way until they got it right, until you see the success that is whatever that business, whatever that actor, whatever that musician is. They had to go through the highs and lows of the process to be able to see, you know, the success that they have now. And we're gonna have to go through the same thing. You're gonna have to go through the same thing. You know,
Absolutely.
it's not going to be perfect, but you have to start. Kind of like what Steve Harvey said: jump, and the parachute is gonna open. It may open right before you hit the ground.
Right, but it's not open.
It'll open, but you have to jump for it to open.
Yeah, and
What about you?
I think Gary Vee talked about that too. He talked about when he started Wine Library TV. Um, Gary Vee's worth, I don't know what, 400 million at this point, somewhere around there. But he started Wine Library TV, um, and he didn't have any followers or subscribers on YouTube. He The first 2 years, I think he may have had a total of 400 subscribers. I don't know the exact numbers of the story, but he didn't have any subscribers.
Hmm.
And then one day, uh, fate shined on a video. It goes viral, and boom, off to the races. Now Gary Vee wasn't uh, in a financial tight. I think he was already, his family already owned a successful business at that point.
Right.
Um, an immigrant family. They again, same way it was us. They got it out the mud. Immigrant family. And he had already grown his family's business to a
Hmm.
successful wine business. Um, but I still say that to mean even as a successful business owner already, he still had to go through the process of starting, making uh making mistakes, taking imperfect action,
Sure.
learning from that, and then growing what we now know today as VaynerMedia.
Hmm.
So, no matter where you are in your life process, it's just like Daniel said, you got to just start. You really got to just start. And the key to that, the first thing is find out what you want to do, locate someone that is doing what you would like to do, find out, and if you don't have the opportunity to meet them in person, or you can't find a way to reach out to them, whether that's social media or anything like that, then like he said, find out if they have a book. People pour their minds into a book or podcast,
Mhm.
we're pouring our heart, our mind into this podcast. So yeah, I would say that's the first step if you would like to transition from a 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship.
I didn't even think about the podcast, man. That podcast, that's an even greater resource, right? Because that's an avenue for you to get kind of like free mentorship each and every week, or however however often they post a podcast. It could be every day, every week,
Yeah,
or every other week. It's one of those situations where the information is available to you. It's available to
absolutely.
you to be able to say, this is what I want to do. And we went going back to 2020. So many people were at home, not doing anything, and all of a sudden they got inspired to use the internet to find something to do. And guess what? They were able to monetize or make money off of whatever the idea was, or the thought was, or something that was already in place, and they just, bought into that system and made money on that too. So even if
Yeah,
you don't come up with the idea yourself, there's something out there that you can, participate in, uh, to cause you to bring capital and revenue into your household.
right, right. And realize up front that not everyone will be change is not fun for the individual. It is uncomfortable, but change can also be uncomfortable for people who love you, people in your family. So realize that when it comes to support, quote unquote support, and we're going to have a show on this too, but when it comes to support, you may not always get because everybody's excited when they start a new business, right? Hey, I'm going to start this new business, and I just want to tell everybody, which is fantastic. I think you should. I should think you should tell every person you know. Just understand that even if that person does not have the response that you thought they should have, that does not mean that person doesn't care about you, doesn't mean that person doesn't love you. And like I said, we'll do a whole show on that. And you should not be discouraged because you don't get the responses that you want. For the great majority, people are happy when you start something new. But there are times when people will not necessarily be happy, and they may ask you a bunch of questions that seem negative on the surface, and that's okay. Um, what I want you to just
You do.
understand is,
You got that little job. I mean, you how you doing with that little business?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
You rich yet?
yeah, or the, how you gonna do that? Why you doing that? Um, even with starting this podcast, I had people ask, "Oh, you gonna be a YouTuber now?" With a little undertone under it. But what you got to understand is you should not get discouraged by those things. It is okay that not everyone sees the vision in the beginning. It is your vision. It is for you, um, and you got to just start.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's important to be able to get around like-minded people, right? Um, to be able to inoculate you from the distractions and
Hmm.
disappointments when they happen, because they are going to happen. Because you're. I heard an analogy that said, um, about a baby when they're walking, when they're learning to walk,
Hmm.
and each time they fall, what do you tell the baby? Stop trying to walk.
No, you got to get back up and try it
Stop trying
again.
to get back up and going. And this is
Yeah.
what we have to do. In the earlier stages of entrepreneurship and starting something new, we're going to fall a couple of times, but just like those babies, we have to get up and walk, because if we don't keep progressing and learning, because the body and the mind, they are made to learn and progress, right? So that baby, and there are new neural pathways that
Hmm.
are formed every time you lose, you learn, and then you implement what you've learned from the loss, right? So that's
Yeah.
what that baby does. They learn from the loss or the fall. They get back up, try it again. They take one more step. They take 2 steps further than they did before and they fall. But this time they take 8 steps and then they fall. And the next time they see mommy or daddy across the room and it's shaky, but they're walking,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, the closer they get to mommy or daddy, mommy and daddy's encouraging them. Hey, come on, baby, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And they keep doing that process. Mommy and daddy don't get frustrated, right?
Right. Right.
They keep encouraging, and that's a form of consistency as well. And that's a form of coaching, that's a form of mentorship, right? So you tell them, come on, this is what you gotta do. Come on. They hold their hands in the beginning, and then they let them go, they fall. Get them back up, hold their hands, let them go. They stand, take 2 steps. They fall. Get back up. Repeat the process until that baby can walk from one side of the room to the
To the
next.
other. Hmm.
And everybody's celebrating. So you have to, and that's another thing. You have to get around like-minded people. And then you have to find that person or mentor that can, help you, pick you up by the hand when you fall. Say, okay, that's good. All right. Did you learn what happened? Yeah, all right. Now this is what you need to do. Um, to be able to say, take these next 2 steps. Now, they may tell you after you take these next 2 steps, watch out for this. And if you
Right.
don't listen to what they are saying, you're going to fall and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But you've gained another neural pathway in your brain because our brains are made to always learn, right? You've made
Yeah.
another neural pathway in your brain to say, okay, you've unlocked something new. Let me further that learning area right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there's also a lesson in that too. That no one not walking is never an option.
Never an option.
Not walking is never an option. So when you start this journey, you have to feel that way. You have to feel the same way about success. Not succeeding is not an
It's
option.
not an option.
It is not an option. The only way not to succeed for a baby is for them to stop trying to walk.
Right.
Because you and I both know if they try enough times, they will get it. The only way for you to fail is to stop trying.
Right.
And it is the same way for you with business, with entrepreneurship. If you want to make that transition, if you want to get that, if you want financial freedom, you just have to start and you have to make a decision that quitting is not an option. The only option, the only result is success.
Yeah.
Um, and we had Brian, credit union captain, on last week. He did a live this morning, and in the live this morning, he talked about uh, how many times he had to fail before his credit business took off.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we discussed on the live is how no one talks about the fact that failure is a part of the success.
It is. Right.
The failures, and if you're in public school or anything like that, we all grow up learning that failure is bad. You get in
Right.
trouble for failure. I got spankings or whoopings for getting failed in grades, and intrinsically you learn I don't want to fail. I can't fail. But the reality of it is that failure is an important part of the process because that's the only way that we can learn, only way that we can move forward. And the faster you fail, the faster you'll find success.
Now
So
you
you
don't
got to
want to
just
be
start.
a you don't want to be a habitual failure. That's not
No,
that's not what
no, that's not what we're saying.
all right. Yeah, we're saying learn quickly from the
Yes,
failures. Yeah, learn what to do the right way when you did the wrong way. Now, some
yes.
people saying, yeah,
S-
you can fail
Start.
over and over and over again. No, 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 no.
No, 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 no.
learn the right way.
That's right.
Okay.
But the what I guess what I was trying to get at is the sooner you fail, the sooner you learn, and the sooner you can get on to the success.
Yes.
But trying to avoid the failure is a mistake.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I think we're near the end of tonight's show.
Okay.
We're wrapping it up. Do you have anything that you would like to add before we shut it down, man?
No, it's one of those, and it's always interesting. They say no, and then you say what you really wanted to say. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Um,
Also, again, I just wanted to say this is gonna be an interesting ride, I believe. Um,
yeah.
Even because it's basically gonna be you and I continuing the conversation that we had earlier, or have always had. Right? It's just a continuing conversation, and we're letting people in on our conversation. Sometimes we'll have people who will be our guests, and sometimes we'll have people that will come in out of the audience. Of course, we'll have a process for that. But I think it's gonna
Yeah.
be. I think it's gonna be a fun ride, man. Just be able to document this process. You know what's going to be interesting for me? I
What's
think
that?
us actually looking back a year from now at some of these earlier
Yeah.
um, episodes and see how far we've come uh, in a year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not even
Absolutely.
talking about. I'm not even talking about subscribers. I'm just talking about our confidence in being able to uh, do this podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think a year from now, it would be very interesting to look back, and that's the great part about YouTube and Facebook and being able to document this process, right? Because not only do we get to look back as kind of like a chronicle or an archive and see success play out, but you guys get to take a look at the journey as well. And I think a big part of why people struggle is because we ignore the small wins,
Yeah,
um, and we lose motivation when we hit a roadblock that we think is insurmountable because we've ignored the small wins.
sure,
But documenting the process, having a reference point that we can go back and look at, that is a part of us being able to keep the small wins in front of our face,
sure.
and move forward.
Most definitely. You got anything, man?
No, man, that's honestly, man, that's gonna be it for me. I appreciate you guys that tuned in. We appreciate you so much for continuing to rock with us. We will have this up on the YouTube and on Facebook. So please like, comment, subscribe, reach out to us, join us on Facebook. All the links are in the description. We love you guys. We'll talk to you later.